Roman Caligae. What is the first thing that comes to mind? For many, it's probably just simple sandals, but what you may not have known is that these humble shoes were one of the key pieces in Rome's expansion and Rome's domination of the known world. In such a vast empire where war and conquest were part of daily life, every detail was crucial. And in the case of the Caligae, they contributed to the success of one of the most feared military forces in history. But why did an army as advanced as the Romans choose sandals over boots? Why did Caligae, a seemingly simple piece of footwear, matter so much? The answer lies in mobility, health, and the survival of Roman soldiers. Today, we are going to explore the real secret behind Roman sandals. We will discover how simple sandals were fundamental to the success of the Roman legions, from the comfort of the soldiers to the psychological impact they had on their enemies. And believe me, what you are about to discover could completely change your perspective on this military footwear. The origin and purpose of Caligae. The Caligae were not simply sandals, they were an essential part of the Roman military uniform, designed specifically to ensure the survival and efficiency of soldiers in one of the most vast and demanding empires in history. But why simple sandals? Why not sturdier boots like the ones we would use today? The answer lies in the climate. The Roman Empire spanned vast regions with hot and dry climates, from North Africa to the Middle East, passing through the Mediterranean basin. The scorching sun and extreme temperatures made closed boots not the best option for soldiers marching for long periods under the sun. That is why the Romans chose Caligae. These military sandals were made of sturdy leather and fit comfortably to the foot with leather straps. This simple but effective design allowed soldiers to keep their feet cool, dry, and comfortable, even during long marches under the intense Mediterranean sun. Thanks to the Caligae, soldiers avoided common foot infections such as fungus or blisters, which occurred with other types of more closed footwear. The ventilation provided by sandals allowed sweat to evaporate quickly, which helped keep feet cool. This was a key benefit during long marches or battles under the scorching sun. In an environment such as the Mediterranean, where marches of up to 20 miles a day were common, comfort was not a luxury, it was a necessity. It also allowed them to move quickly when necessary, either to escape or to attack enemies. So it wasn't just a matter of comfort or freshness. Caligae, by offering greater freedom of movement, became a strategic tool. Soldiers could move with agility without the restrictions of heavy boots. And when the terrain became rougher, the sturdy sole with iron studs provided the traction needed to maintain control on any type of terrain. However, it's not just about comfort. More than just footwear, the Caligae represented Roman strategy in action. Can you imagine how an army would function without the ability to move quickly, adapt to the terrain, and react at the right moment? For Rome, mobility was key, and Caligae, with their lightweight and flexible design, were a vital part of this gear. One of the great advantages of Caligae over heavy boots was simply their weight. Caligae were much lighter, which meant less fatigue for the soldiers, especially during long marches. Think about it. A Roman soldier could easily march for hours and even miles without feeling overwhelmed by the weight of his footwear. The agility that Caligae provided was crucial to the type of warfare that Rome waged. In most battles, the speed of the legion could make all the difference. Soldiers not only marched long distances, but they also needed to be quick and efficient during combat. And it wasn't just about comfort during marches. The Caligae were designed to withstand any type of terrain, from paved roads to rocky and rough trails. The sturdy sole with its iron studs provided excellent grip, ensuring that soldiers could move with confidence even on the most difficult terrain. This design was not only practical, but also demonstrated Rome's advanced military engineering. The Romans knew that to be invincible, they needed to be able to move quickly and effectively. And Caligae helped to ensure this, giving them the to march precisely toward their targets, regardless of terrain conditions. But the Caligae did not only play a physical role, they also had a psychological impact on enemies. The characteristic sound of Roman Caligae, the clack, clack, clack as they struck the ground, was not only a reminder of the Roman presence, but also terrorized those in their path. Imagine the scene. In the darkness of the night, the sound of thousands of Caligae marching in perfect synchrony, getting closer and closer. It was not only a sign that the Roman army was near, but it was a warning that destruction was imminent. Rome's enemies knew that when they heard the sound of the Caligae, the Roman legions were near. The Roman soldiers were not only a physical threat, but also a symbol of order and discipline. The sound itself became a psychological weapon that heralded the arrival of the Romans, instilling fear and uncertainty. This phenomenon was so shocking that even Rome's enemies began to associate that sound with their inevitable defeat. The Jews in Judea, for example, went so far as to limit the use of Caligae within their own community. The Jewish rebels interpreted the sound as the advance of Roman troops, which caused them to panic even before the Romans reached the city. The Romans were even nicknamed Caligae, which means those who wear shoes. This nickname spread so widely that Roman soldiers were recognized not only for their combat skills, but also by the sound that marked their arrival, a true symbol of power. Although Caligae were perfect for the hot, dry regions of the Mediterranean, Northern Europe presented very different challenges. There, low temperatures, constant humidity, and rain made it impossible for the Caligae to perform their function effectively. Roman soldiers who ventured into cold climates needed more protection for their feet, and Caligae simply weren't sufficient. Imagine marching for hours in northern Britannia or the lowlands of Germany, where the cold and damp penetrated to the bone. Caligae, although ideal for the southern sun, did not offer sufficient protection against the cold or the necessary waterproofing for soldiers in these regions. In such territories, feet wet from mud and snow could lead to infections, and constant exposure to the cold could cause serious health problems. It was a situation that required adaptation. Therefore, from the 2nd century AD, the Romans gradually began to replace Caligae with other types of footwear more suitable for these adverse climates. Thus were born the Carbatini, closed boots that completely covered the foot and ankle. Unlike Caligae, Carbatini were not only more closed, but also provided total protection against the cold, moisture, and mud. These boots were made from a single piece of leather, which made them much more resistant to inclement weather. The design of the Carbatini was simple but effective. The piece wrapped around the entire foot and ankle, fastened with laces or straps, which offered more protection against the cold. In addition, because they were more closed, Carbatini were much more insulating, making them ideal for protecting the feet from snow, rain, and the icy winds of the northern regions. These boots were also more durable and provided greater protection against slippery terrain. In addition, being closed, they offered greater comfort when marching in extreme cold. While Caligae remained ideal for the southern sun, Carbatini quickly gained ground in northern regions, where protection and insulation were a priority. And it wasn't just soldiers who began to wear Carbatini. These closed boots became so popular that Romans, Greeks, and even some Celtic peoples began to adopt them. The practical, economical, and durable design made Carbatini common footwear, not only in the army, but also in the daily life of many people in the Roman Empire. In fact, by the end of the 4th century AD, Carbatini had already become almost mandatory footwear throughout the Roman Empire, both for soldiers and civilians alike. This marked an important transition where closed boots began to replace Caligae in colder and wetter regions, ensuring that the Roman army could operate efficiently in all climatic conditions of the vast empire. Roman Caligae were much more than simple sandals. They represented the adaptability and strategy of an empire that, despite challenges, knew how to find practical solutions to conquer the known world. This simple but extremely functional footwear allowed the Roman legions to march long distances, move with agility on the battlefield, and maintain control over a vast territory. From the roads of the Mediterranean to the difficult terrain of northern Europe, Caligae were an essential element in the Roman conquest. Not only did they help soldiers stay comfortable and healthy, but they also played a key role in the psychology of war. The sound of the Caligae echoing in the distance was a symbol of power that terrified enemies before the legions reached the battlefield. But like any great empire, Rome knew that it had to adapt. Caligae, although perfect for the hot and dry climates of the south, were not sufficient to face the cold and humidity of the north. So, as was characteristic of Rome, they evolved. The more closed boots offered the protection necessary for soldiers marching in the harsh regions of northern Europe. Now, I would like to know what surprised you most about the Caligae and Carbatini. Did you imagine that such simple footwear would have such an impact on the Roman Empire? Leave us your opinion in the comments. If you like this story and want to see more impossible confrontations like this one, subscribe to the channel, activate the bell, and leave us your opinion in the comments. And as always, may Mars guide you in battle.